this week is a singer-songwriter whose songs you will, I'm sure, have heard many, many times. And I have great pleasure in welcoming Russ Ballard.
Thank you, Des. Good to see you.
So, life stories.
Yeah.
Let's go right back to the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Hertfordshire, East Herts, a place called Waltham Cross. And yeah, Waltham Cross was a very good rock and roll place. You know, it was next to Cheshunt. Cheshunt is a place that Cliff Richard moved to after coming from India. So I used to see him around the streets. So that was all those years ago. He was much older than me, but.
And where did you go to school?
Went to school, a place called Kings Road Primary School, a Victorian school, and then after that I went to a secondary school, which was called Waltham Cross Secondary. Yeah.
When you were at school, did you have any inclination of getting into music or anything like that? What prompted you to get into music?
No, well, I was interested in football. That was my thing at school. I was captain of the school football team, and I would have loved to have pursued that, but I didn't. I was sent to piano lessons when I was 8, although I should have been 9. Apparently the piano teacher said, I don't take kids until they're 9. So that's how it used to be. But I tagged on behind my brother. My brother was 11 or 12, and he was already playing. He'd been playing for like 3 years. He was quite good, quite a good player. So I used to tag on behind him. So I learned all the light classics on the piano and sort of arpeggios and things. I'd do Minuet in G, the Beethoven, Tannhausen, these sort of things. But I hated it. I hated the theory, learning the theory, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'd say to anybody out there, do it, because it's fantastic grounding. Now I look back and think I wish I'd have studied more at the piano. But
so where did the guitar come from then?
Well, I saw a skiffle group, you know, when I saw a lot of skiffle groups when I was 11, but I saw one particular, it must have been that right time, playing at my school at a fete. And they had washboard and everything, and just hearing these acoustic guitars all playing ding, jigga ding, jigga ding, jigga ding, jigga ding. And it was so exciting, you know, to me it just sounded really, really exciting. And rock, the real Elvis really was only just about breaking then, you know. So the skiffle thing sounded, and it looked easy. And you could start a skiffle band for less than £100, probably for 50, 30 pounds, you know. 3 guitars, 4 guitars, and a washboard, that's all you needed, you know. And
T-chest bass.
T-chest bass and all that, yeah. The guy that cut the holes in my guitar played T-chest bass.
Right, I had one as well.
And I saw this band and I wanted a guitar. It just sounded so exciting. And I saw another band that were amazing at my local youth club, and they were called the Dick Teague Skiffle Group. And there were about 5 guitars, but they were very sophisticated because they had an electric guitar player, a guy called Brian Parker. And he played really, really good lead guitar for a like 16, 17-year-old boy. I was 11. And they had this fantastic looking singer. He looked different from the others. They were all a bit older, but this guy looked dynamic, amazing, you know. And his name was Harry Webb. And he was singing these songs. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you moan. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you moan. Ding, jiggy, ding, jiggy. And my dad walked up, because he was in the club, and he walked up to me and he said, this boy's better than Tommy Steele. Like that. This boy's, and he looked $1 million. And a year later, he had Move It Out. And then he was a rock and roll singer. But he looked amazing.
But he was, wasn't he? I mean, he did have that certain thing.
He was so charismatic, and he had a great voice, you know. He was so much, they were so much more sophisticated. And they had a drummer as well, Terry Smart, who played on Move It, was playing drums. They didn't have a washboard player. So they were half skiffle and half rock, you know. So to me, it was so exciting. And Brian, the guitar player, became... it was my idol, and I used to embarrass him, you know, to say, you were my idol, Brian, because he never became a professional musician, except he wrote Concrete and Clay.
Right.
Years later.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Yeah, so we became very, very big friends, and we were very big friends. In the early days, he treated me like he said, pat me on the head, you know, but we became very big friends. I always embarrassed him.
So then you first, well, I don't know if it was your first, but you were with Adam Faith and the Roulettes.
Yeah.
Which must have been amazing. How old were you
I
then?
was 16 when I joined him. Yeah.
Wow.
He was 22.
Yeah.
But, you know, it seemed that he was sort of enlightened, you know, he seemed to know everything, you know, because he had had a career from when he was like, a big career from 19 to 22. He'd had 3 years of TVs, of doing radios and doing movies and stuff when I joined him. So he was very impressive. You know, when I turned up at his house when I was 16, basically for an audition. The audition was, we had a chat. That was the audition.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And I was met at the door by his valet, butler, and he had a maid and a cook.
Right.
He was 22, you know.
22.
And they took my jacket off, took my scarf, and I remember he hung my jacket up on a hanger and put it into. He said, "It's just taken somebody home. He'll be back soon," you know. So I played snooker in the snooker room with his dad, you know. It was very, very strange. And he turned up, and from then on, that was '63. We became very big friends, you know. We were very big friends to the end, till he died, you know. I was a pallbearer at his funeral.
Right.
So.
And then you mentioned it before, Unit 4+2, Concrete and Clay, great song.
Yeah, well, I was one of the +2. Bob Henry, the drummer in Argent, and the Roulettes with me, he and I were the +2. Because the Unit 4, they were known as Unit 4. They had a record out, they had a contract with Decca Records. And they'd had a single out called Greenfields that got top 40, but it wasn't a big hit, you know. And they had session men. So when they wrote this song, or Brian Parker wrote the tune, and the singer in Unit 4 was called Tommy Moeller. He wrote the lyrics, great lyrics as well. And they were all from at my area, you know, so we were all mates together. And they were rehearsing one night in a pub, in the hall in the back of a pub. The pub was called Coach and Horses at Newgate Street. This was all in Hertfordshire. And Buster Meikle, who was part of this band, it was a very good friend of mine, said, "Russ, come and listen to this tune that Brian and Tom have written." And they played it. "You to me, as sweet as roses in the morning." They played it just like the Drifters, slower, you know.
Yeah.
And I said, "God, this is an amazing tune." And lo and behold, they phoned us and said, "Would you play on it?" We don't, you know, we don't have a guitar player, don't have a drummer. So Bob and I ended up playing on it. And yeah, that was 1965.
Right. Jump forward then to Argent.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, well, I remember seeing you with Adam Faith, but the time that I became aware of you very much was because you Hold Your Head Up.
Hold Your Head Up, yeah, yeah.
And
yeah,
God Gave Rock and Roll to you.
Yeah, that was 72, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, I saw Rod Argent, and he said, "I want to start a band. Do you fancy being in this band?" Because the Zombies had split. He was in the Zombies had split.
Right.
He said, "I'm starting a new band. Would you be in the band?" I said, "Yeah." So Bob and I joined.
I mean, you just mentioned the Zombies. That's one I missed out, was a Miracle for Colin Blunstone.
Yeah, Colin Blunstone.
Which was a fantastic song.
Yeah, well, I wrote that for myself as well, actually. I didn't even play it to Argent because I'd written the song, and I wrote that on the piano because I play a lot of piano. I wrote most of my songs on the piano, and I wrote that at a strange time, you know, and I was feeling a little bit low, and I put my head on the keys on the piano and cried, you know.
Lovely song.
At the end, yeah.
Lovely
But
song.
well, at the time, everyone was saying to me, "You can't call it I Don't Believe in Miracles. It's so negative." But I said, no, it's got to be I Don't Believe in Miracles. Because I've said I'm positive at the end, because I say I believe that somewhere there's someone who's going to light the way when things go wrong. And that kind of, but I don't believe in miracles, you know, basically. And I didn't even play it to Rod or Jim or Bob because I thought it was too soft, and they go, "Oh no, it's too soft for what we're doing." And then they play it to Colin. Rod plays it to Colin because "Yeah, I'll do it." But
and he had a lovely voice, didn't he?
Oh,
I
he
mean,
had the perfect
suited.
voice for the song. Yeah. He had that sound, didn't he? But I played piano on that record.
Right.
I played the piano, and Rod and I did the backing vocals.
But I don't believe in miracles. I don't believe in miracles. But I thought you might show your face or have the grace to tell me where you are.
What's it like? Do you write for somebody in particular, or is it just a case of you've written a song and they pick up on
Yeah,
it?
exactly. I always structure them like I can hear them on the radio anyway. That's what I used to do. So, you know, you'll have the verse, like the bridge and the chorus and stuff. And to me, it was like learning a craft, you know, and sort of how to craft things and trying to learn new chords and always sort of trying to find, you know, new bass notes to the right hand and stuff like this, which often turn chords into something else, didn't you? Put them somewhere else.
Yes.
So I was always doing that kind of stuff, and I used to get free time actually in my friend's studio. He had a 16-track studio in the 70s, and I used to get free time. But once I started getting hit records, I used to have to pay for it. But yeah, I still love it. I love getting on the piano and writing.
Two of the people you've written for are both the girls from ABBA.
Yeah,
and
Frida and Agneta.
Yeah. But did you meet the girls?
Never met them.
So
never ever met them.
But did you write the songs for them?
No.
Or they just picked up on those two songs?
No, they just picked up on them. Yeah, no, I was contracted, you know, by various publishers. You know, I'd go from one publisher to the next, sort of, for 4 years, 5 years here, 5 years there, with different publishers, and I was then allowed to go and do 24-track demos. This is before digital. You know, I was the only one in the country doing 24-track demos. You know? So I used to rent things like keyboards and guitars and bass. I'd play it all myself. Yeah. And sometimes I get Bob Hennett to play the drums. Sometimes I played the drums or use a Linn drum. Yeah. And I did all this kind of stuff, and they would allow me and pay for all this stuff. You know, but then every song I seemed to do, probably 8 out of 10 would be recorded by somebody. You know.
Wow. Kiss, they were a band who
recorded I had five. They recorded 5 of my tunes. You know,
and did you meet them?
I played New Jersey with. I couldn't believe it when we first the Academy of Music in New Jersey. Couldn't believe it. We played there with Moody Blues, John Mayall's Blues Breakers, Argent, and Kiss. Never heard of them before. We went to the sound check and they were setting up, and they had this rostrum with this big sign Kiss at the back. Yeah. Wow, this looks something. And then the rostrum started to go round and round. Wow, these have got to be something else, you know.
And did they have the makeup?
Well, they did in the afternoon, but when they came down, they stood in the wings, and they were up there, you know, and they had the platform shoes, ready to go on, and they looked so amazing. You thought, these know what they're doing, these guys, you know. And I played with them a few times.
Amazing.
After that.
Amazing marketing.
Fantastic, very clever.
Gene Simmons makes a big deal about
it. Very clever.
All the dolls
the books, those books.
Yeah.
Sell for like $10,000.
Yeah.
The books.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So you still play. I noticed you did a one-man show in London recently.
Yeah.
What was that about? What?
Basically, it was just like stories of my life. I've told so many stories, and people have said to me, well, you ought to do songwriting seminars, and you ought to do, that's a great story, that's a great story. You ought to do an evening with, you know, and this has been going on for 20 years, people talking about it. So Peter Ross from Umu produced it. The presenter was Mike Reed.
Yes,
Mike Reed sort of just asked me questions about my life, as you've been doing, actually talking about life and stuff. But we were throwing in these little stories like people I've worked with, and you know, stories like working with Ringo, working with Roger, but there's so many other stories. Working with Adam, you know, when we met Noel Coward, and when that was in Singapore, you know, you must come up to the suite. Come up to the suite. So we will go up to the suite, you know, and go out for dinner with him and stuff. I didn't know who he was. Right. But there were so many funny stories, you know, and that was what it was all about. And I sent a mail to Brian May and asked if he wanted to be on it as well, come up for the second half as a surprise. Yeah. And Peter and I went over to his house and we rehearsed over there. And we also had Kerry Ellis, who was working with. She came on and did some of my songs, and Rick Wakeman ended up doing it as well. Right. So it's a great night. Yeah, it's great fun.
Yeah, Rick. Oh, there's a story to tell you from Rick Wakeman.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's great.
So you're now on tour. How do you still enjoy that? Do you still like to play?
It's the reason I got into it, Des. You know, like you. I mean, you get into basically, as I said, got into this skiffle group, because you want to be with your mates and play music, and that was what it was all about. And then we used to play for nothing. I still do. But
seems to be a thing about the
yeah, but you know, when you're a kid, you sort of like take the drums on the bus. You have your guitar case and stuff.
I had a double bass.
You had a double bass.
You used to just have to stand on the platform on the bus.
Oh, that's amazing, isn't it? But that's what you do if you love it, you know. And you still get such a buzz when you go out to play. I went out and did a tour with Roger Daltrey in 1985, because Roger phoned me and said, I'm going to do a solo tour. So it was his first solo tour. He hasn't done many solo tours. But he said, do your own tunes and come out with me, play guitar. And Clem Clemson was he played slide, and I played the other stuff. And Roger said, he said, when did you last play then? When did you last tour? I said, 11 years ago. This is 85. He said, I can't believe it. But, you know, once you get on there, it's that, you get that feedback, you know, you give it out to the crowd, and it comes back to you, and it's so exciting. You say, why did I stop doing this? Well, I stopped doing it because I had children, and I wanted to see them grow. That was the main thing. But I could stay at home and still write tunes, but I always missed it. Always missed going out and playing live.
Nothing like that buzz of the audience.
It is. It takes you somewhere else, you know. And for that hour, they don't think about the mortgage. They're not thinking about the bills and stuff. And you're not. You're thinking just about the music, and it's going backwards and forwards. It's magic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Magic.
Got to ask you about your. A friend of mine, when I said I was going to be talking to you, the first thing he said was, ask him if he's still got the guitar with the holes in it.
Yeah, I've still got it.
I mean, that was such a statement at the time, because you know, everybody had traditional shaped guitars, and you turn up and you've got all these holes drilled in it.
Yeah.
And was that just drilled holes?
Yeah, it was a Fender. It was a '65 Fender Stratocaster, and I looked at it, and it was black, actually. My friend painted it black, had it spray black. I got it from Buster Meikle from Unit 4+2. Right. Because he said, I want to sell this guitar. So I have it off you, so I had it. It was just a normal Strat. And at that time, there were a lot of, I don't know if you remember the metal chairs that had holes in them. You're too young to remember this stuff.
No, I remember it.
They used to have
You're
holes.
very kind.
They used to have holes cut in them, you know. There was a lot of, that was a fashion, holes cutting stuff. And I thought, I'd like holes cutting this guitar, you know. And my mate Jim Wilkinson did it from the Royal College of Art. Fun enough, I did do a video with Roger Daltrey for his album that I produced in '75, and I was playing that guitar at Shepperton. We did 4 of his songs from the album, and he looked at my guitar and he went, I like that guitar, I like the look of that. And he said he had a Les Paul Gibson, and he looked at the chippy over there and he said, can you cut some holes in that? And I turned 20 minutes later, he came up with this. And so somewhere there's a Roger Daltrey guitar with holes, just like that. A Les Paul. I've never seen it since, fun enough, but he did. Yeah.
And did it make any difference to the sound?
Makes it lighter. It's great when it's round you. Do you know? I don't think. I think you get less, obviously, reverberation through the body, but you still get the pickups. You still get the pickup, the toppy pickup, and I've got a humbucker on it as well. Right. So it still gives it that sort of distorted, sort of edgy sound, you know, which is great. Yeah.
So you got you're touring at the minute. You've got an album. It's good to be here.
It's good to be here.
Any more plans?
Well, I plan on working a lot more, doing more gigs and things. You know, I plan to go to Germany. I've been asked to do a show. I've done quite a few shows in Portugal. I plan to go back there in July. So I want to play now while I can. You know, I want to play and play.
You don't ever want to stop, do you? I mean, from a musical point of view, musicians, I think we just go on forever, don't we? I mean, you know, you don't retire, do you?
No. I think somebody wrote to me only a week or so ago and said, you know, I'm talking about retiring, and I said, no. I said I want to keep going till either I fall down or they take me away.
Yeah. Well.
Come on, Dad. You've got to. Come and take your pills.
Listen, Russ Ballard, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
And you, Des.
Long may it continue.
Yeah.
And definitely be able to see you.
Yeah, come up. It'd be lovely to see you.
Yeah, and thanks for coming.
It's my pleasure, really.
To us. Brilliant.
Thank you.